Hello everyone, friends. Luba is here with you. On my channel, contemporary tartlet recipes will appear more often. Therefore, I recorded a separate video with a short crust pastry recipe that suits tartlets perfectly. There are several ways to prepare short crust pastry. They differ in technique, ingredients, and proportions. In this video, we will prepare a basic version of the dough using the sablage method. The dough turns out crumbly and holds its shape beautifully. The recipe will be detailed and step by step so that everything works out for you on the first attempt. Let us get cooking. For the dough, we will need cold unsalted butter cut into small cubes, 1 egg, sometimes only the yolk is used, but here it is the whole egg, wheat flour, almond flour, powdered sugar, and a pinch of salt. Let us begin with the dry ingredients. Into the sifted flour, we sift the powdered sugar. We add the almond flour and the salt. We mix so the ingredients combine evenly. Place the cold unsalted butter and the dry ingredients into the mixer bowl. We mix using the paddle attachment. It is also called the beater. A whisk is not suitable here. Our task is not to whip, but to rub the ingredients together. It is important that the butter be very cold, straight from the refrigerator. Our goal is to mix until the texture resembles a fine uniform crumb. During the process, you can pause the mixer and check what you have. If the crumb is almost ready yet pieces of butter still remain, that means the mixture is not uniform yet. Continue mixing until all the butter is distributed evenly and every speck of flour is coated with it. Then the crumb will become completely uniform. To check whether the crumb is ready, squeeze a little of the mixture in your palm and then open your hand. The crumb should be loose like sand, and there should be neither dry traces of flour nor greasy traces of butter left on your hands. This is the crumb you should end up with. At this stage, we pour the egg into the dough and continue mixing. It is very important that the egg be cold as well, straight from the refrigerator, so the dough will keep the desired texture. We mix until the dough begins to pull away from the sides of the bowl and come together in a ball. At this stage, we stop. This is how the dough turns out. We quickly bring the dough together by hand and we get a uniform, smooth, matte ball like this. In general, short crust dough is made quickly. It is important here to make sure that it does not overheat and stays within the range of 20 to 22 degrees. With a few motions, we finish kneading the dough on the table until it is uniform and it is ready. For convenience, we divide the dough in half. That way it will be easier to work with. Next, if the temperature of the dough allows, we roll each portion out between 2 sheets of parchment paper. However, if the dough has turned soft, has started to shine, or the room is too warm, first chill the dough and then resume working. To keep the dough cold for a longer time, I chill the rolling pin and the baking sheet beforehand. We do not roll out the short crust dough in the usual sense. We rather smooth it from the center toward the edges. We periodically lift and separate the parchment on both sides so the dough does not stick and settles evenly. The thickness should be several millimeters, a thin and neat base for the future tartlets. During the process, I constantly monitor the temperature of the dough and I try to work quickly. I transfer both rolled out sheets onto a pre-chilled baking sheet and place them in the refrigerator. One of the most important stages is stabilizing the dough. It should stabilize for at least 8 hours and ideally about 12 hours. For baking tartlets, I use a variety of molds, most often perforated ones. They are perfect for short crust dough. Hot air circulates freely through the holes and the dough does not puff up. I also use regular basket-shaped molds. This is not even all the molds. I also have molds for mini tartlets and for large tarts. Each tartlet mold needs to be prepared. We brush perforated molds with butter on the inside and basket molds on the outside. After that, we place them in the refrigerator so the butter hardens and creates a thin protective layer. Once the dough has stabilized, we start forming the tartlets. From one rolled out sheet, I cut out the bases. Working with the dough after it has stabilized is very convenient. The main thing is to move quickly while it remains cold. I immediately transfer the molds onto a baking sheet with a perforated mat, and when all the bases are ready, we place the molds in the refrigerator and move on to the sides. For the sides, I use the second sheet of dough. With a knife, I cut strips along the long side. Their height should be slightly higher than the mold, about 1 or 2 millimeters, so there is a small margin. Now we lay the strips inside the mold, gently pressing them against the walls and joining them to the base. Make sure there is no gap between the base and the side. If one strip is not sufficient for the whole side, it is no problem, you can make it from several pieces. The main thing is to join the seam carefully so the seam turns out smooth and unnoticeable. You can run a cold spoon or a spatula along the seam, then the edge will turn out smooth and neat. The strips for the rims should be chilled, but not straight from the refrigerator. Dough that is too cold will break. You need to wait until it becomes pliable, then working with it will be convenient and neat. If, however, during the process the dough warms up and starts to shine, that means it has become soft and unruly. In that case, it is better to chill it again and only then continue working, otherwise it will lose its properties. This is what the tartlet shells look like. And before trimming the top edge, we always place the molds with the dough in the refrigerator. For the basket molds, we cut circles out of the dough and place them onto an upside-down mold brushed with butter. We press them gently, and to create a beautiful relief along the waves, you can run a modeling tool or your fingers. Since this mold is not perforated, we prick the dough with a fork. This will prevent the dough from puffing up while baking. And before baking, we also place these shells in the refrigerator. When the dough has cooled and become firm, we trim the tops with a sharp knife in one motion, running it along the edge of the mold. Chilled dough cuts easily, does not stretch, does not deform, and keeps a clean edge. Look at how neat the shells have turned out. Before baking, we place them in the refrigerator to chill. As you have noticed, it is important to chill short crust dough at every stage. When the tartlets have cooled, we bake them in a preheated oven. The temperature is about 155 to 160 degrees. We bake them until they reach an even golden color. On average, baking takes about 20 minutes, but you should judge by appearance. Properly baked tartlets have a uniform golden color across the entire surface. If the tartlets remain pale, it means they are underbaked, and in the finished product, they will be soft and fragile. After baking, we let the tartlets cool completely in the molds on a rack. Once cooled, they pull away from the walls of the mold and come out easily. If a tartlet does not release on its own, gently twist it inside the mold, and it will come out without damage. Additionally, though not obligatory, the tartlets can be coated with a glaze, that is, a mixture of egg yolk and cream. After that, bake them further at a temperature of 160 degrees for literally 5 to 7 minutes, so the glaze sets but does not begin to darken. Such a layer gives the tartlets a beautiful sheen, and most importantly creates a protective film that prevents the pastry from becoming soggy from the filling. Depending on the recipe, I decide whether to add this layer or leave the tartlets without it. Look at how beautiful and neat the shells have turned out. Perfect bases for all kinds of tartlets. So many great ideas for them. Some very exciting recipes are coming up, do not miss them. And I will leave links to the tartlets that are already on the channel for you in the description below the video. Friends, that is all I have for now. I hope you enjoyed the video and that it was helpful for you. Thank you for your attention. See you in the upcoming videos. Bye bye.